The Trump administration will give Constellation Energy a $1 billion federal loan to restart the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant in Pennsylvania. The White House also announced a nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia. Joining us now to give us the latest, Energy Secretary Chris Wright. Good to see you, Mr. Secretary. Good morning.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
Can't believe it's been, is that 40 years? Not quite, since it happened. And I was a little bit tongue-in-cheek earlier with Andrew off camera. I said, do you remember how many people died at 3 Mile Island? And it reminded me of The Simpsons, where the guy has the running death toll, stands at 0. It was 0. Was it not? The reaction and what it did to the nuclear power industry was kind of mind-boggling. How did that happen?
It was. It's just much easier to sell fear than to sell reassurance. Of course, it was an early reactor with some bad designs and a human error, but that shouldn't even be possible to happen. But you're right, even with mechanical system design problems, human errors, no meaningful radiation was released, no impacts on human health, but it scared everyone. And the China Syndrome movie was out then, and we had a society ready to be fearful of nuclear power. Fortunately, now we've got, 70 years of data from nuclear operating. It's the safest way to produce energy around the world, and we have far safer designs, operations, and experience today. So the reactor number 2 that had that failure, was long ago permanently shut down. This is reactor number 1 that ran all the way until 6 years ago, was only recently shut down, shouldn't have been shut down. And now we're working with Constellation Energy to get that back up. The United States needs more affordable, reliable, secure energy. People are tired of expensive electricity prices, and the Trump administration is all in to do something about it.
Why was it shut down 6 years ago?
We had a bad market design, which we still struggle with a little bit in the electricity world, but we're fixing that as well, that made it so that reactors, when the wind blew, bid in their power at basically free because they were getting paid 4 cents for producing power, even if no one else paid them for them. And it just ended out chipping away at the economics of operating a reactor that can always be on and provide steady baseload power. But there's a lot of things to fix in the electricity grid, and certainly a lot of 4 years of Biden policies that didn't allow affordable, reliable new sources to come on, and in fact was in the midst of shutting down tens of gigawatts of affordable, reliable power. But those days are past us, and this is just one thing that the Trump administration's doing to bring new power online for Americans.
I guess it's an all-in energy sort of a mentality that we have, and everybody kind of says that. It's not a commentary on peak oil or fossil fuels, or is it a commentary that renewable is not going to, I guess this is renewable, actually, or is it a commentary that maybe wind and solar aren't going to be online quickly enough that we're going to absolutely need to get back into this business in a big way? And how long won't it take 20 years from now if you start a project? Or is the permitting easier, or will it be easier?
No, this new power plant will be on in about 18 months. So
no,
this
totally new
restart.
Totally new, Chris. If we were not reactor number, whichever one it was, but let's say we want to start from scratch.
Well, we got several reactors starting from scratch relatively soon. So a large reactor like this reactor, those are probably 7 or 8 years to construct, and you'll see several of them under construction in the U.S. in the next 12 months. But some of the small modular reactors you're going to see go under construction next year, they'll only be 3 or 4 years. So it's not next year, but we're going to see new nuclear power plants in the next several years. You're going to see lots of new natural gas power plants, and you're going to see lots of power uprates, meaning getting 10% more power out of existing nuclear power plants, 10% more power out of existing hydro facilities and natural gas plants. So we're going to have a lot of new power coming through creative sources in the short term, and then you'll see a lot of construction for long-term and new assets coming as well.
Mr. Secretary, when you think about loaning money to private enterprise, and we have big conversations in this country now about industrial policy and the role of the government, role of business, how do you see that in this context?
Well, the government smothered nuclear power over the last 4 or 5 decades. We put it at an unfair competitive advantage by an overarching regulatory regime that was not focused just on safety. It was on safety and bureaucracy and answering to political concerns and layering another layer. So we took an industry that started so strong in the 50s, 60s, and 70s and smothered it. So I'm a capitalist. But what the government needs to do is give nuclear a fair playing field again, which is reform of the regulatory regime, reestablish the nuclear supply chain in our country, and bring private capital back into nuclear power. And there's huge interest for private capital to come back in. But the early moving projects, Andrew, will have government either credit guarantees or debt that's provided. We'll be out of that business in 3, 4, 5, 6 years. This is just to get an industry started again.
Very good. Would you say, Mr. Secretary, and we're going to go, but would you say wind power, is that the administration has no interest in that whatsoever and actually wants to dismantle or cancel projects that were getting started?
Well, the track record's been pretty bad. You know, we spent hundreds of billions of dollars as subsidies for an energy source that's sometimes there and sometimes not, and you don't know when it's going to be there and when it's going to not be there. So the main goal of this administration is to stop subsidizing, stop paying people to put power on the grid that's guaranteed to make electricity more expensive and our grid a little less reliable.
Does that go for fossil? That's always the rap, Mr. Secretary. Sorry to interrupt you. You know, that's always a rap from the left that, oh, well, the biggest subsidies go for oil, you know, fossil fuels. Those are being phased out as well?
They don't. There are no meaningful subsidies for fossil fuels. And, yeah, absolutely, we don't want to subsidize that. We want it to compete in the marketplace, drive down costs all by itself.